I am Graham, a trucker who reads a lot of books. My goal is to be a full-time author and illustrator. You're helping me get there by watching this video, so thanks. Now on to the video. Happy Halloween, everybody! I've made about as many Halloween book recommendations as I think I'm going to this month. Today is going to be dedicated to something a little bit different. If you check out the playlists on my channel, I've got a couple of recaps for books in the Saga of the Forgotten Warrior series by Larry Correia. This was originally going to be a trilogy, and then it was expanded to 5 books, and then the 5th book became so long that Larry had to split it in 2. And so now, what was going to be the final book is now the 5th book, and the 6th book, which will be the final, is coming out next spring. The 5th book comes out on the 5th of November. Which I'm sure is going to be the most significant thing to happen that day, and there will probably be nothing else on your mind or in the news. Right? I don't know. Anyway, this is an incredible series. I love it. I've enjoyed most of the series that Larry has put out, and this one I think has done the most for epic fantasy by showing what it can be. He writes at the pace of a thriller. He has a setting that's extremely brutal and aggressive and intricate, but not overly focused on the mechanics of the world. It's focused on the characters and the lore, which are the two, I think, most engaging components that you can bring to the surface in a fantasy setting. Our main character is a guy named Ashok Vidal. He was of the lowest scum class, servant class of House Vidal in this fictional setting. And he accidentally discovered that he was the heir of an ancestor blade, that he was going to be the worthy bearer of an ancestor blade, a blade that is kind of like Thor's hammer. It picks its bearers. You've got to be worthy to hold it. Only instead of like with Thor's hammer, where you try to pick it up and you can't if you're not worthy, if you pick up this sword and you're not worthy, it makes you disembowel yourself. It's pretty intense. And so this is a big deal that somebody of this class was able to pick up this sword. And there are political and inter-house advantages to having sword bearers, and perhaps even having more than one on your side. Well, they've got to get rid of this unworthy sword bearer, but they can't do it through any kind of outright dastardly means, or else the blade will shatter and then the house will be vulnerable to other houses. So they erase Ashok's memories and program him, as it were, with wizardry to have no fear, and then send him into battle at a very young age, hoping that he'll just be overwhelmed and die, and then they can get the blade back and they can start looking for a new bearer. Unfortunately, this actually turns Ashok into an unstoppable killing machine, and later he is, even though he doesn't initially believe it, he is the new avatar of the law and the old gods, which have been stricken from the memory of society. There are powers that are trying to create a secular atheistic society instead, and then now the old gods are reasserting themselves. Ashok is just one of about a dozen focal characters who really just brings this story to life and turns it into a page turner. There's Devadas, who was Ashok's childhood friend and later becomes his foe. These guys are enemies, but Ashok doesn't want to be, and even though he's the opponent of the protagonist, Devadas is a guy that you can root for and get behind. My personal favorite is a character named Jagdish. He was basically an NPC, just like a expendable red shirt stormtrooper foot soldier type guy, who's had a continually upward growing arc as the series has progressed. There's this guy who just can't stop accidentally winning losing battles. He can't stop accidentally marrying beautiful women. He can't stop accidentally overcoming his tragedies. It's just he's the guy that you want to root for, and then he pulls through. This is the epic fantasy version of Jim marrying Pam from The Office. Holy crap, he got out of the friend zone and he did it. That's Jagdish. And he's just one of several characters that you can really root for. There are plot twists, there are gut punches, there is nonstop brutality and action in this series, and I recommend it to everybody who's a fan of epic fantasy, not least of all because the series is actually done and written and turned in, and we're just waiting for the final 2 books to come out. So the 5th book, Graveyard of Demons, comes out next week. When? Have you already forgotten? Remember that day in November, the 5th. Because that's when the 5th book comes out, and then the sixth one will come out, I believe, either in February or March. I think Larry said on his Facebook page that the audiobooks are getting recorded back to back. I think there was some scheduling issues with the fourth one, and Tim Gerard Reynolds, who has narrated the entire series, and he's one of my favorite narrators. He wasn't able to do the fourth one at the time that the print book came out. They've got that remedied. I've recently re-listened to it, and I used that for my recap video. If you have read this series, you can use my recap videos to kind of get caught up on what all's happened, where all the key characters are, so that when this fifth book drops next week, you are caught up and ready. But definitely check out The Saga of the Forgotten Warrior if you have not. You will not be disappointed. Drive safe. See you out there. Thank you for watching that. To help the channel, check out my books on Amazon. Buy one, read it, tell me what you think. For October, I recommend Sleepless Hollow, a fantastic sci-fi romp with guns, ghosts, and gonzo action sequences. You can also subscribe to my Substack, where I do more detailed book reviews and longer-running projects, some of which is paywalled. Drive safe. See you out there.